So whose bright idea was it to film on the hottest day in the UK ever?
Lucas's. We're here again for another episode of... I like how that starts with Nisha going that. We're here again for another episode of The Fact Bar. First of all, I would like to make an apology to the audience. If the audio on this one is a little bit off, it's because we are recording on the hottest day of the year, and that means that we all have fans on, so the sound suppression might make the voice sound a bit weird. So what we're going to talk about today is a weapon. It's a hypothetical weapon, but it's like scientists and people who come up with these things have said that it's possible. And this is a weapon which uses no explosives. It uses very little in the way of like ordnance and stuff, but it could, in theory, deal enough damage, the same amount of damage as a small nuclear weapon. Any ideas what I'm talking about?
Is it the Hulk?
Well,
No.
yeah, I asked you before we started filming, like, what I should call this audio recording, and you told me to call it Rod.
Rod.
So is it someone's rod? That sounds really dodgy.
Specifically someone's Rod.
Someone's
Rod. It's Rod Stewart. The danger.
Rod?
This is the nickname for it is Rods from God. This is not ringing a bell. I think this was in a Lucas video where I first heard this.
Rods from God.
It was from Carl. It wasn't you. You didn't bring it up. Carl mentioned it, but you just might not remember.
Yeah, I just must not remember.
We're talking about kinetic bombardment,
Okay.
which is the idea of dropping things from orbit to impact the ground below. So
they're just going to drop a giant pillar, basically.
Yeah, essentially. So the idea behind it is there will be satellites that are orbiting the planet, and they will contain these enormous rods. It says made from tungsten, which I assume is the heaviest metal we have in high supply. I would guess. I'm not quite sure why they specify tungsten, but...
So I like how we researched this, but you didn't research tungsten.
Well, I've got the page up and it says tungsten. I didn't specifically look into why it was tungsten. It just... all of them, it says tungsten rods. And I was like, okay.
It has the highest melting point of all known elements barring carbon. So, like, maybe it's to do with the fact that it could re-enter without completely melting.
Yes. Or without melting at all, maybe, so it keeps its structure. So the idea is that these things will be in these satellites, and when a strike is ordered by whichever military controls them, they will drop these things from orbit, they will enter the atmosphere and just fall. And then when they impact the ground, they will be going at, I think it said they can reach about Mach 10, which is around 7,000 miles per hour, and then they'll impact the ground. It's like, you know how in films they always talk about how it doesn't matter, like a meteor of a certain size could destroy the entire planet if it came in fast enough. It's that, but in rod shape.
Rod shape?
Yes.
Like a thin rod, or...
Well, there's various iterations that have been talked about, and the biggest one I can see, it said it would be around... I highlighted the wrong parts of this, apparently. 20 feet long, so 6 meters, by 1 foot diameter, or 30 centimeters.
Well, I imagined it bigger than that, but yeah.
It doesn't need to be, because the amount of force it impacts with, like, that force has to go somewhere, and it's the area around it. Like, it's the bunker busters. These things can smash through the ground.
Like a worm on worms.
Because, like,
that's scary.
It's like when you look at, when you go to a museum and you see, like, a meteorite or, like, a shard of it, and, they're like, hand-sized, maybe, and it's like, oh no, they create, like, giant impact craters.
So, obviously, there's a lot of issues that come with trying to predict where they're going to land and fire them properly, because once you let go of them, there's not really much you can do.
Not at that speed, anyway.
Yeah, but the main thing that they talk about is how difficult it is to defend against them. Like, what would you do? Because they can travel from space to the ground within 15 minutes.
Yeah, like, there's no reaction time. In terms of, like, if you don't know it's coming, you got 15 minutes to be like, something's flying at us, and we've got to come up with some kind of, like, anti-air solution to stop something travelling at thousands of miles an hour.
You just accept the death, wouldn't you?
Well, you just get in a car and get as far as you can.
Basically.
Because you can't redirect it, really. You can't stop it. Like, what kind of structure could you make? I mean, I guess a really big cone that sort of slopes outwards, so it hits the cone and slides away. But like, I don't know how
And
you
then
would...
shoots across the earth. Like,
just
yeah, that
your
seems,
solution
seems like a great
is
idea.
to try and build like a half pipe in 15 minutes that's gonna just hit the peak
redirect
of it
it.
perfectly.
No, it just means you have to
shoot
cover
it back.
all of your military bases with half pipes that are pointed at the enemy bases. So if they drop it, it hits the pipe and it redirects to the enemy.
I think we may have to rethink this plan.
What else?
it's
It's
not
the only
guaranteed.
plan we have.
But you also
General
said how
Lucas,
hard
it's the only plan I've got.
You said how difficult it is to know exactly where it's going to land, and it needs to land on the perfect point of this ramp.
I think, assuming if they're going to use these things, they would have found a way to make them hit perfectly. But then, I guess if you were controlling that, you would be like, they've got a half pipe, sir. Okay, just move it 10 feet to the left.
Yeah. I like
It's
the idea
just-
that just, like, military bases devolve into just half pipe.
Yeah, no, what the most terrifying thing about this, though, is that not only could these things be implemented, like, within 15 minutes and do that much damage, but they obviously can be put anywhere on Earth. Because you don't need, like, a plane to fly over. You don't need to be able to target a location. You just move the satellite around the planet.
But surely that just causes every country in the Earth, like, on Earth to just keep an eye out for any satellite that suddenly just starts tracking above the important cities or whatever. That, oh yeah, just shoot this satellite down. So that was just a.
But if you shoot it down, all the rods come down with it.
Oh, what
But not if you
nightmare.
blow it up enough.
I guess it depends where in orbit it is actually. Because
Just-
if it's in a geostationary, where it's like just normally orbiting. If it's in a geostationary orbit, that means that if you blew it up, it would stay like that. So there'd just be all these rods that spaceships in the future would have to avoid.
See, that's why you don't send an explosion up there. I'm rethinking this. You send like a giant boxing glove on top of the rocket and just punch it out of orbit. That's all you
It's
need.
like that. Is it that scene from Futurama where there's that big ball of garbage coming for Earth? So they
Oh,
just
yeah.
send another ball of garbage up to push it away.
I think we're definitely getting into weird future tech territory now, where we've got
Boxing gloves are nice and simple, Brad.
we've got giant rocket boxing gloves and half pipes just in case.
I'm just thinking, like, what does Green Arrow have in his arsenal of like trick arrows that we can use? I'm an ideas man. I'm not about practicality.
Yes.
No, that's pretty much it. There's a few examples of it being used in fiction, because obviously, you hear this idea and you're like, cool, I could do anything with that. Something like this has been used. It's not quite the same thing, because they're not giant poles from space. They were little, like weapon things from planes. Why did I forget the word for plane and start swimming?
Flying
this.
contraption.
This is plain.
Planes. During the Korean and Vietnam Wars, they used something called a lazy dog bomb, which was just it's called a kinetic projectile, which just means its power is based on the speed. But it was just shaped like a normal bomb, and they just took them into aircraft, and just threw them out.
I don't know why my brain thought you were going to say they were shaped like a dog. I don't know why.
Yes, falling metal dogs.
It's like, what's
See,
that in the sky? Oh, it's just a cute dog.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just get taxidermy dogs. Put like heavy weights inside the taxidermy dog,
And
just...
people wouldn't move out the way because they'd be trying to rescue the dogs. We thought of the
the
ultimate
dog's
weapon.
falling at 3,000 miles an hour.
Weapon.
The military, every time
Ooh.
one of their dogs dies, they have to get it taxidermy stuffed, but then filled with tungsten. And then during the wars, they chuck dogs out of planes. All the enemy soldiers try and catch the dogs. They get crushed by the dogs. The war is over.
You could do it with cats as well, so you could say it's raining cats and dogs.
Yes,
True.
that's what it'll be. Operation Cats and Dogs. Operation Raining Cats. We've done it. We military hire us.
Don't hire me, Jesus.
But like the terrifying part of this is it says that these things could be, like, when they were dropped, they had the same effect as if a machine gun was fired. Like, that's how much speed these things can get up if you drop them from the right height.
That's terrifying, isn't it?
So dogs and cats falling at the speed of machine gun fire, probably a bit slower because they're not really aerodynamic. Unless I guess you'd have to make them in Superman poses when you taxidermied them.
You could put like little voice boxes in them as well, so like they woof and meow.
But can
Yes.
you imagine just like reading that in, your history journal. I was just like, oh, there was one battle in history where somebody turned around and from, like, a 50,000 kilometers in the air or whatever, however high they need to get, they dropped a bunch of taxidermy cats and dogs on a city and just bombarded them with cats and dogs.
They said Lieutenant Nisha was crazy when she said her plan.
But in fact, no one was left alive to tell the tale. All that was found was the remains of these taxidermy animals.
In perfect condition. Covered in the blood of their enemies. You walk into the city and it's just a ghost town of corpses and stuffed animals.
Stuffed animals, and it's like, when batteries run low.
Yeah.
And like voices start sounding distorted, it'd be like meow.
You mean like that
meow,
countdown game we had?
meow.
So you're inside our tungsten-filled taxidermy death cats and dogs. You want to put little voice boxes in there as well, so they're like meow.
It's just a funny image.
I love the idea they'll have different levels of like different scales of ordnance ready for different fights. So like they need to take out a tank. The dog's not going to be enough, or maybe you get a Great Dane. But if that's not enough, you bring out the gorilla. Gotta take down a battleship elephant.
I mean, yeah.
Just the ship that carries them can be called the Ark, and there's just two of every animal.
Realistically, if we're talking with a bow, all you need to do is like pierce the hull, right? Enough. So you need to just drop like some really small things on them, like hamsters.
I thought you were going to say
little bullets raining from the sky.
I thought you were going to say it with a sharp beak, like some kind of bird. Like get like a budgie, angle it so that it's like a bullet.
Yeah, if you can try and get a giant tungsten-filled elephant in a plane and fly it, then okay. But I'm thinking just hamsters, just thousands of hamsters, drop them on the battleship.
I'm just like, now I'm trying to think of hamster dropping jokes. Large rabbit dropping a head. Is that your fan?
Yeah, what was that? I think someone's fan must have like ignored the noise suppression for a minute.
It's trying its best, everyone. It's been on for like 6 days straight. It's just had enough. No more, Mr. Brad. No.
Look, honestly, I think mine's just blowing hot air at me now. I don't feel any better.
I think we have discovered that just the greatest weapon against the British is just make them fucking warm. You don't even need taxidermy hamsters from space.
I'm so used to this country being a lower temperature that the speed that my ice melts is just frightening me, because I keep freezing like full 2-litre bottles of water to use the ice. Is like sometimes I can put it next to my fan so that it'll blow the cold air around, or I can put a bit of water in it when it's melted and keep drinking the water. But I bring it in here, and within like 15 minutes, it's almost all gone. How? Like this is
fucking hot.
This is why the Earth's melting. Well, the ice caps are melting.
Yeah.
And there's people out there like, oh, there's no such thing as climate change.
There isn't, bro.
This is the proof. This is the proof.
Don't you get me started. Don't you get me started, Holland.
Everywhere's just getting hotter and colder coincidentally in a very noticeable pattern, and it's got nothing to do with anything. It's just random, right?
Suppose the Earth is also flat, right?
Well, we're saving that one for another day, aren't we?
The amount of people out there, who just share false shit is so annoying. Like, somebody shared a picture of Plymouth Rock, and they put the caption saying like, "Oh, Plymouth Rock still on the surface of the water from like 1620 or whenever it was first like marked or whatever." And they were like, "See, the sea levels aren't rising because Plymouth Rock is still above water." And then, like, top comment of theirs is like, "You do know Plymouth Rock's been moved loads of times. You do know that it was once cut in half and then brought back together at some point. You do know that if you take a picture at high tide, it's underwater, right?" And it's like, it's so easy to just quickly Google something and read the facts. And that's what annoys me so much about these things.
Even people who read the facts just like refuse to believe it. Like the whole vaccine stuff, it's just.
I mean,
the science is there, but
one of my favourite ones I've seen recently was like a clip of a Flat Earther documentary and whatnot, and like the guy who was running the whole show was just like, "Oh yeah, we're all gonna go into this like big party now and stuff," and then he goes to camera like, "Yeah, don't let them know those results because we don't want to let them down right now. We
Yeah.
want to like enjoy the weekend. And he just flat-faced to camera, just like, I know that I've just disproven our own theories, but don't let them know yet because we want to have a good party.
Yeah, where twice in this documentary they use the scientific method to disprove the flat Earth. Once by measuring the Earth's rotation using some kind of like gyroscope, and then once by using a laser over a long distance to measure the curvature.
Yes,
And
yeah.
they do both of those things, but then when they get to the convention at the end, they secretly tell people not to mention it, to keep it to themselves, because they don't want anyone to know that they've just proven that the flat Earth is wrong. And this is how you know that a lot of it's clearly a sham for money, is because these people know for a fact that what they're peddling is complete steaming horse shit, and yet they still peddle it because they get viewers and people who want to latch onto something to feel important. So it's the same with the anti-vax movement. Like the thing that bugs me, right? You get me going now, right? It's the this is right. So there's going to be a series on this channel at some point called it's currently called Breaking Brad, but I might change the name for it. Break Brad, I think was what we were going to call it. Where I just go on rants because these things really annoy me and I could rant about them for hours, right? One last thing on this one. So the anti-vax one you just mentioned. What bugs me about it is how all of these people will pick and choose the facts that they like and ignore the rest. So they're crying about how the government are manufacturing these vaccines and that the vaccines aren't safe and that they're going to kill you. And yet, as soon as fucking Trump says, let's take this horse medication, everybody starts wolfing it down. So you're quite happy to take this other chemical that hasn't been proven, but that some other douchebag had said was fine, but you're not happy taking the one that other people have said is okay. Like, was it oxychloroquine or the fuck it's called? Like, there's loads of them where people like Trump's like drink bleach and people are like okay. It's like
wasn't it putting bleach into your bloodstream because it'll?
Oh yeah, it was injecting bleach. That was it.
God.
Because obviously drinking bleach will kill you, Brad. You got to put it in the veins. That's the safe way to do it.
Just they pick and choose the facts that suit their narrative, and this is the thing that's so irritating about it. It's like even with the flat Earth thing. They're quite happy to accept variously of these scientific methods that help prove what they think is true, but then as soon as you say, well, we've proven gravity, we've measured the Earth, we've done this, no, they're all fake. We've taken photos in space, no, it's all fake. Oh, but you're quite happy to go on about like the things like density and all that kind of stuff. You're quite happy to use like scientific and mathematical methods to measure your shit until it stops matching what you think is true, at which point it's then not real. Fuck off.
And I'm just still annoyed because I can't get a fucking 5G signal, even though I've apparently got it injected into me.
So stupid.
And this is another thing that's annoying about the 5G thing. No, I'm going now, right? This 5G thing. Oh, they're putting these fucking things into those vaccines to infect us all. Well, I carry my phone everywhere I go. If they want to track me, there's a device that we all carry that can do it.
With like
also,
a microphone on it and a camera
these
on
people,
it.
yeah.
So many times that I've been on Facebook and I've gotten adverts for stuff I've literally just been speaking about.
There's these people tweeting and Facebooking all of these comments about how they want to track them. Yes, through the device you're using.
You're accepting all these cookies when you go on these websites.
If you truly believe that you're being tracked by the government, get rid of your phone, get rid of your computer, get rid of your fucking house, and move to a countryside somewhere and live in a field. Because that's the only way you can prove you're not being tracked. Oh, it's in my bloodstream. No, it's in your pocket.
I feel like we need to stop recording. We're going down like just this Brad rabbit hole now.
This has nothing to do with the topic.
This rabbit hole?
Rabbit hole. Maybe that's what the series could be called. Down the rabbit hole. Right, anyway, yeah, so thanks for watching the Fact Bar again. Remember to comment below with whatever the fuck you want, because it's a comment section and you can have your say, basically. And we sometimes
be careful,
read them.
Don't set Brad off.
We're not accepting any comments about like anti-vax or flat Earth.
No, don't.
Yeah, if you comment that, no, because if I say I'm gonna have a go at the people in the comments, then they'll comment it to get me to have a go at them.
We'll just remove you from the channel. It's fine. Like not you, the people commenting.
Get rid of me.
Block the comments.
People can't get Brad's response if Brad's not here anymore.
It's mysteriously disappeared.
And yeah, remember to eat your 3 wings and your 3 lettuces, because we haven't said that for a while.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Right, we're stopping. Bye.
Yes, please. Make it end.